Hello, welcome to the new episode of Data in the Hallway. My name is Ray Pei, Community Manager for TiDB, joined by my colleague Daniel Van Eden, who's dealing with some transit issues in Europe as he's trying to get home. So, how are you, Daniel?
I'm good, but yeah, some strikes, etc. So that's always fun.
Yeah, so yeah, hopefully you'll be able to get home in a reasonable amount of time and with not a whole lot of trouble. Yeah, and then we're happy to have one of our colleagues, Airton Lastori, who is one of the product managers for TiDB, joining us from his home in St. Augustine, Florida. How are you, Airton? Welcome.
Uh, yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Cool. Yeah, so as we're recording this, I think in about a month you'll be giving a presentation at a MySQL event in Brazil. I mean, I thought because my assumption is that you'll be delivering that talk in Portuguese, so I thought it would be good to have this discussion in English for those of us who unfortunately cannot speak or understand Portuguese. So, I mean, it's a good topic. As you can see, like we obviously have a lot of our community members and users get exposed to TiDB as they're coming from their MySQL environment. And we've heard stories about people that have migrated from MySQL to TiDB. We put a title that's a little catchy, like if you're a MySQL user, how do you decide that TiDB is the right database? So that's sort of our that's the topic of our conversation. So, Airton, I mean, I wanted to ask you, I know you worked at Oracle for a long time, so if you
Mhm.
could talk about your experience at Oracle and your experience at MySQL, I think that would be very helpful for our audience.
Yeah, even before joining to Oracle, I used to be a developer. And then I joined Oracle back in 2010, actually. I always been in the MySQL team there. So I'm going to celebrate 15 years in the ecosystem. Like it's been a while.
Mm.
So yeah, I started my career there, helping sales teams and also customers to onboard into the MySQL world and deal with some challenges. Then I transitioned to product management. And
Mhm.
now I've joined PingCAP as a PM too. So yeah, and in Oracle I work with both, the self-managed or on-prem stuff, but also I was the PM for the cloud service in OCI,
Mhm.
my cloud Heatwave. So I had the opportunity to touch both ends, right? Yeah, and it's been a really nice experience. This event that you mentioned in Brazil is actually I'm Brazilian and I helped I'm proud to say I helped to build the Brazilian community there. We used to have a few folks and then I helped to grow. And now they're organizing this event now in the beginning of the next month, October 2025. Yeah, it's like mostly the attendees will be Brazilians, but and probably the talk will be in Portuguese. But yeah, I have to talk a little bit about it here and explain the topics.
Cool. Wow. Yeah, 15 years, that's certainly a long time. I think both Daniel and I this year had a number of occasions to consume 30th anniversary cake for MySQL community. So yeah, you've been there like half the time. It's since its inception. So
Yeah, Daniel is a long timer too, right, Daniel?
yeah.
Yeah, I've been also like for quite a long time in the whole MySQL ecosystem from
Yeah.
far before it was acquired by Sun, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah, it's
Cool.
funny because I saw Daniel's name everywhere, like in bug reports and other things. But
Yeah.
it's the first time we are working together, and yeah, I'm lucky to have Daniel as a colleague now.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, I mean, appreciate your background and experience with MySQL, and like you said, I mean, both here with TiDB and with Oracle, obviously you talk to a lot of the customers or users of MySQL database. So, long established community has been around for a long time, but what are some of the typical challenges you see from MySQL users? I mean, when do they run into, start experiencing issues, and why do they start looking at different ways of like solving those issues?
Yeah, so my scope of responsibility here in PingCAP is basically MySQL compatibility and also data in, like when people are moving data into TiDB, right? Yeah, and I talked to several customers regarding their challenges. I think we can group some of them in big categories. Then we can drill down if you want. But I think the number one is scaling, and especially when it comes to writes. So typically, a MySQL deployment is a single writer node where you have, the limits of scaling up the hardware. And then if you need to scale out, you can do that for reads quite well in MySQL. But writes, it's really complicated because then you need to trade off, the simplicity of a single node with more sophisticated software and operations to shard and then deal with everything that comes along, right? So I would say scalability, especially write scalability, is the number one reason and challenge that people will look at alternatives to MySQL. And also this single writer architecture, it poses up some challenges for high availability. Even if you have something like automatic failovers with GTIDs and stuff like that, there is still the failover. If you have a single writer, your application will write there. If you need to fail over, you need to coordinate, stop writes, put in read-only mode, make sure that you will not write anything else, and then transition to another node. So it takes a few seconds or minutes to do that, even if it's all automated, everything goes well. If you have long-running transactions, is another pain point. So it's kind of complicated in this primary replica configuration. And yeah, maintenance, like, upgrades are painful also. You need to reserve a big maintenance window. Um, and yeah, so if you start to put these fancy mechanisms and you start to increase the operational burden, and then the developer velocity will goes down, right? So because they'll need to plan in advance, they'll need to consider maintenance windows. Um, there will be situations where they need to evolve the schema, so they need to coordinate the schema, and now it's better in MySQL, but it's been a problem for a while. Online DDLs or lack of online DDLs, and was typically a huge challenge for many users. And mixed workloads, like when almost all applications, they MySQL is very good for transactional small transactions workloads, but almost all applications, they will at some point need some reporting and analytics, and the options using only MySQL is they are quite limited. And also the observability part, right? MySQL is evolving with performance schema and things like that, but still it depends a lot on external things that are not really well integrated. So you need to do the integration yourself. So that I would say it's another challenge, like set up, the operations around it and observability will take some time usually custom logic.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a great summary. I think I was talking to one of the community members actually in Europe. Like his opinion, I mean, not just about TiDB, like a database in general, was that people are talking too much about performance and scalability sometimes on
Mhm.
databases, but the main issue a lot of times that you experience on a day-to-day basis is sort of quality of life kind of issues, like manageability, like
Yeah.
ease of like importing data, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's not like a exciting thing that people often talk about, but that's what hits them the most is what his opinion was. So yeah, I think you kind of kind of repeating that sentiment. But go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, and I think all these things make it more difficult for companies to actually scale their business because if the database doesn't scale, the business doesn't scale.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, and I think I'm somewhat giving this away for your talk next month is like in the abstract. What I like about your talk, obviously I'm biased because I work with you and we're on the same team, so I'm always going to be biased, but. What I like was you're providing a like almost like an evaluation framework. If you're MySQL users and you're experiencing these issues that you talked about, whether it's upgrades,
Yeah.
HA, lack of online DDL. So what are the things that you need to look at to evaluate? How would you evaluate different alternatives and let's start from there. So
Yeah. So I think there are some signs that you need to evolve your deployments, right? And consider TiDB. By the way, I'm not saying that TiDB will be a great fit for every case, right? It's really it you need to evaluate it when it makes sense. But there are some clear signs where you should consider like we said, just repeat the massive scalability need, right? So if you need sustained throughput for writes, then you should evaluate sharding and if you use TiDB, you don't need to care about the details, implementation details to have that done right, right? If your data set is very big, like several hundred of terabytes, we can deal with that. Also, by the way, we can compress data when you compare a typical MySQL deployment with a TiDB deployment. You spend less storage because we use a different encoding pattern. We use LSM trees, and they decompress really well. They are more friendly to these cloud native storage like S3, for example. And yeah, that data set size is another one. So that I would put in scalability, the scalability bucket, right? But also real distributed SQL, I think it's another sign because if if you're considering to have more than one node, it's very convenient for the application to read and write from everywhere, right? And having strong consistency guarantees. So from the application perspective, it's just it's kind of a single node, right? So it's really simple for a developer to write an application that works well with TiDB. This complexity of the infrastructure that doesn't pops up, right? Doesn't go up to the developer. So that's another thing. Like if you need cross table joins in a sharded environment and you are doing sharding manually, that's really hard to do. So TiDB will hide that complexity. Um, and you can think about applications also, right? What kind of applications would need that, right? So if you think about gaming, for example. It's a huge industry. We have several customers using TiDB there, like these massive multiplayer online games. They can use they use TiDB to solve their pain points. So the other uh, type of the application and category that we can look at is SaaS applications. Typically, they are multi-tenant, right? They have several customers, and they write the application, have one dedicated schema or database for each customer to have some sort of isolation, but they can't have one instance of the database for every customer. So they consolidate in a single instance. Like if you do that in MySQL, you start to have problems with scalability also, and managing that altogether. Like backups are becoming more complex. So TiDB has some advantages there, and it can grow. A single cluster can deal with millions of tables in TiDB. So it's prepared for that type of scalability. So for a multi-tenant application, that would be a good fit as well. Um, again, strong HA requirements, right? If with strong consistency guarantees. So, like we said, no maintenance window, no complex failover. So that's something that you should consider also, because you won't have a single point of failure in your architecture, and you can have the peace of mind of writing and reading everywhere, and no, you don't need to deal with failover at the application level. You can put load balancers between your application and the database, so everything will work fine. And for these typically applications that need that have these HA requirements, strong HA requirements, and strong consistency requirements, are these fintech applications, right? This and even Web3, right? Like blockchain and applications like that. They will require this type of strong consistency, strong HA also together, right? Yeah, and also if you need HTAP, like analytics, you
Hmm.
can of course add TiFlash and extend this have the performance of analytics with TiDB. It's open source and has several offerings in the cloud. We have several tiers in the cloud as a managed service, so there's this flexibility. So that's another good fit if you have this requirement. It needs to be open source, so
Yeah.
you can contribute with the product, we deal with that. And finally, I think the last one is, and in my opinion, is the biggest MySQL advantage when you compare with other database like Postgres and other options. Is MySQL is this lovely developer friendly database. So
Hmm.
usually developers like MySQL because it's simple to understand, simple to get started. Um, TiDB is more complex, right? More robust, but also their underlying architecture is more complex. But like I said, um, it will abstract most of that complexity from the developer, so
Hmm.
it is also developer friendly, and it's really easy to get started if you opt in to use our cloud service, like the starter tier. It's free. There's a very generous free tier. You can start there, or even you can run locally with a simple command like tie up playground.
Hmm.
You have an entire development environment in your machine. So there are several reasons in place where TiDB would be a good fit. We can talk
Yeah.
about where it's not a good fit too, if you want to, but
Yeah, no, no. I think it's like we probably want to be transparent and talk about that as well. But
yeah,
yeah, before we jump into that, I appreciate you sort of bringing examples from like specific verticals that you mentioned, like gaming,
yeah,
fintech, and including even Web3. So I think a lot of the listeners would find it helpful. But yeah, in the spirit of like transparency, we're obviously all biased. Like we think TiDB is a great database, but there are certain cases if if you're MySQL users,
Yeah.
then it may not necessarily work out for the best. But I mean, let's talk about some of those and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, just one thing that I forgot,
yeah,
for
yeah.
developers also, there are these new features, exciting features related to AI, like vector
Mm,
store. We are working on
yeah.
better full search also. So yeah, there's more things to come. So developers should be really excited and evaluate TiDB for their new applications also. But
Good.
where I think it's not the best fit. From my experience there at MySQL, we have this type of customers that are using MySQL as an embedded database. Like you have a small hardware, you can ship the hardware with the database, and
Mhm.
some packaged software with the database built in. So for that type of application, I don't think TiDB would be a good fit. It's too much. I don't think. I think MySQL is a good fit there. Or SQLite can be another option sometimes, but there are some place where MySQL with InnoDB transactional guarantees would be a good fit there. So the other maybe another category would be this ultra low latency for reads, where you can you can tolerate some downtime, but the reads they need to be really fast, and you are going to use a single box for that, no middleware, nothing in between. So it's a very specific use case, but I saw some customers trying to achieve this millisecond latency using MySQL as a nearly as a cache, right? So and I think their MySQL still can serve better. If you have this tolerance for failures and your workload is almost read only, then probably uh, MySQL would be a good fit there still. Um, and if you have like legacy application that relies on very specific MySQL features like UDFs. MySQL, you can write C code and bake this code into MySQL as a UDF. This won't work with TiDB. Even in stored procedures, triggers, we don't have that yet. So probably if you rely on that and you cannot replace that with another thing, or can't spend some time investing on modernizing that part, probably you need to stick with MySQL. There are some very niche usage of legacy storage engines in MySQL also. Maybe that won't fly with TiDB. By the way, if there's a vendor that has a specific certification for MySQL and won't support another database, that's something that you should evaluate also. Um, we TiDB is very compatible with MySQL, but we cannot say that it's 100% compatible. There's nothing like that, right? We are not a
Yeah.
fork, right? We
Right.
wrote the code from scratch. So there will be a few things that are a bit different in TiDB, and if you cannot touch your application, sometimes you after you migrate from MySQL to TiDB, you need to rewrite one or another query for performance. If you cannot do that, probably you won't be able to use TiDB with the most efficient and benefits that we can provide. And if it's a pure OLAP application, even for MySQL, that's not a good fit, but maybe OLAP only, no transactions. Probably you'll be better with other MPP warehouse, like massive parallel processing warehouse, something like that.
Cool. Yeah, no, appreciate it. Go ahead, Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think on our website we have a good list about all the compatibility status that we have. So you can look there and see like if there's anything that you are relying on that we are not supporting yet.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. I should probably include that in the episode description for people. You know, it's in our docs pages. So I'll find a link and definitely include it there. So cool. All right, cool. So we talked about sort of, you know, like where it's a good fit, where it's not, where it may not be a good fit for people coming over from MySQL. But if you do decide that, hey, I'm gonna migrate my SQL database to TiDB. Like, what are some of the tools that we offer
Yeah.
that helps like MySQL users? Like, I think some of these tools apply to like other databases too, but for people that are considering migration, what are some of the tools that can help sort of ease their journey? Because it's migration is never fun. Like, I don't care what
Mhm.
people say, it's not an easy thing, but like, go ahead, Airton. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So we do have a lot of tools, and
Mhm.
we can with that. But typically you start yourself playing around, right? I would recommend just get started, right? It's a command line. You can start tie up playground and run in your machine, or create an account in TiDB Cloud and
Mhm.
see how it works. Try to connect an application, see what happens. That's quick, right? So do
Mhm.
this initial test, but we do have a very powerful tool called DM, data migration, which basically is designed for MySQL to TiDB migrations. It connects to a source database, MySQL or MariaDB, and then it can automatically dump the data, create this initial load in TiDB, and also start a replication between your source database and TiDB. So it replicates data from MySQL to TiDB. So data migration is I think for MySQL migrations is the first thing after initial tests, manual tests is the first thing you should try. By the way, it's also available in TiUp. We do have a blog post about that, explaining it's a step-by-step, detailed step-by-step how to do that. But it's something that you should start with if you are bringing workloads from MySQL. Um, and then if you have a more complex data set and huge data set, probably you uh, need more control over this initial snapshot part. Data migration DM can do that, but if you need more control, you probably will use our SQL command called import into, which will basically create, can load data physically directly to our storage layer by passing the SQL layer, which is much faster. And our TiDB Lightning that has the same purpose. It's going to be replaced by importing to at some point. But those Lightning and importing to they offer a bit more control over that. If then to dump the data and before loading the data with these tools, we have a tool called Dumpling, which is a fork of MyDumper. So it creates a logical dump, but separate files so you can parallelize that ingestion. So you can ingest data really fast after that with Lightning or importing tool. And we do have sync diff inspector to check the difference between source and target. It compares table structure. It calculates some checksums to see if the data is correct on both sides. Yeah, like I said, TieUp and TieUp Playground will be your friends here to manage all these tools. You can install using that and And later, if you have already have TiDB data in TiDB, you want to replicate to another TiDB or other data store, we have a CDC, we call TiCDC, that will replicate out TiDB to another system. So yeah, so the migration flow would be like that, right? We first you have this phase of preparation, assessment, right? Assessment and preparation, where you look at uh, what's here, what's there. Then you create this dump. We'll load the data. We'll validate and do some tests. Probably in the end, you do some query optimizations on TiDB. And this can vary, right? Really depends on your deployment, if your application is critical or not. But to get started, you don't need to boil the ocean, right? You just install and do some experiments, some tests. We in that journey, I really Daniel mentioned our website and documentation. We have TiDB.ai, which is based on our internal stuff and also public documentation. It's a LLM that will generate a reg-based graph, right? So answers for your questions. So you'll be very well served learning TiDB, using that, and you can of course always check the original source, and that's been really helpful. I've heard from some customers that uh, offered a very good shortcut to do migrations for them.
No, yeah, that's perfect. I mean, I think you had a comprehensive list of things that we offer, starting from DM, like a CDC, uh, like import into, like you talked about, and including like a TiDB AI. I mean, it's also like integrated into our like a help forum channel on Slack. You can sort of like invoke it and ask a question in plain English, right? I'm trying to migrate and I have this question. And yeah, I think a lot of community members rely on that. So I appreciate you reminding us about that as well. So yeah, I think for people that are sort of uh, thinking about like looking at alternatives to MySQL, and if TiDB is one of them, I think Airton, you went through lots of things for people to consider, and like tools that can help their journey. So cool.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
there are a couple of things to pay attention, very specific.
yeah,
I want to share just based on
yeah,
my experience. Uh, you know, uh, as I said, it's not 100% compatible with MySQL, right? So TiDB
right.
has some. So typical things that people will face when migrating will be data types, very edge case. Probably you need to check, a few data types like enum set and but if you're already using partitioning with MySQL, probably we will see some difference in TiDB, or
Mhm.
you won't need them in some case. So collations, char sets, that we support a subset of the char sets and collations. So if you are using really old char sets, probably will need to do some conversion. And also there's a difference between the semantics for the default alt increment IDs. So some applications, they rely on the fact that MySQL generates always monotonic, sequential IDs, right? And sometimes the application just consider, oh, if this ID is higher than the other, it means this record is older. There's this type of assumptions. We don't have that semantics by default in TiDB, so probably you need to check if that's compatible or not. There are workarounds and things that you can do, but that's a point of attention too. And from the administration perspective, also, when you transition to TiDB, you need to you reserve some time as a database admin to learn the dashboards that we already have in available for you. So there's a lot of observability infrastructure built in TiDB. You can take advantage of that. And how to profile a query, how to understand the execution plan. It's a bit different. So you, as an admin or DBA, you probably will spend some time seeing those difference and learning that. Yeah, you can take advantage of our TiDB AI or Slack channel to help you with that. Yeah, pretty much. I think those are the things that I see people,
Cool.
kind of asking and trying to figure
Yeah,
out, but it's not big blockers.
yeah. Daniel, were you about to add something early on, or like?
So when it comes to the auto increment IDs, like we have an option that people can use for like the MySQL compatible auto increment IDs. So it doesn't have to be a blocker, but it's like something to consider, because if you don't select that option, the default behavior is indeed the one that might cause issues depending on what you're relying on.
Yeah, I mean, I think these little things. I mean, we call them the little things, but what causes some pain during migration, right? I mean, it's like debugging a code. You think you're almost there, but there's just like the last 10% that causes you a lot of grief and pain. But yeah, I appreciate you bringing some of these to light, so people can be aware of them as they're starting their or going through their migration journey. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate your time, your time, and you know, pretty detailed discussion of when and how to consider migrating from MySQL if that's what you plan to choose to do. Some of the evaluation criteria and things to look out for, and tools that can help people through their journey. So yeah, and then I'm sure the presentation will go well. Like, too bad I can't join you down in Brazil, but hopefully you'll have fun down there. So cool.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
excited. Yeah.
yeah,
Hopefully next time.
yeah. Hopefully we'll meet down in Brazil. So
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, so we reached the end of the episode, and can't forget our closing trivia question. That's our tradition. So I think I mentioned earlier, Airton, you're coming to us from St. Augustine, Florida. Like, I didn't know where this was. First of all, tell us where St. Augustine, Florida is. It's a pretty large state, and share something special about your the place you live.
Yeah, I'm living here since 2021, and it's been nice. It's a small city, but it's a touristic place because it's the oldest U.S. city, with a continuous settlement.
Oh wow.
So yeah. So there's this historic component, and people
Hmm.
come to visit, especially during Christmas. There's a big, they light up the city. There are lights
Hmm.
everywhere.
Right.
But it's nice here. You're welcome to visit too. And when
Yeah.
you come here, let's have a coffee or a beer or anything.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know like where it was. I had to look it up on the map. It's like closer to Jacksonville. Like, I mean, I think the other
Yeah.
cities that most people think about are like in Miami, Orlando. But I mean, Jacksonville's another city that's further up north. But yeah, it sounds real nice. Like the oldest settlement in the U.S. I definitely did not know that. So,
Yeah.
fun
Yeah,
fact for people to
there are
know.
some, yeah, there are some Spanish buildings, some Spanish architecture museums.
All right.
Uh, it's a coastal city also. Food
Yeah.
is really good. So yeah, it's a nice
Cool.
place to be.
All right. So it sounds awesome. Cool. Well, Ertan, thanks again for your time, and yeah, hopefully, if you don't mind, like we might have you back on future episode.
Sure. I'm
Yeah.
glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invite, and
Yeah.
let's keep in touch.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.